Hi, I'm here with another review. The pilot episode of the upcoming TV series of The Flash that airs on the CW in the fall was leaked online a few weeks ago and I watched it. So I'm going to give you a review. Now, The Flash is my favorite superhero of all time, so it's going to be hard for me to not judge this based on a comic book fan's perspective. I'm gonna see a lot of things in this that are not the way it's done in the show, so I'm hoping not to bring too much of that into this. I'm going to try and review it based on the term of the show itself.
My name is Barry Allen, and I am the fastest man alive. A friend recently gave me the idea for a new name, and something tells me it's gonna catch on.
To start off, the acting, some of the actors are pretty bland, some are pretty good. Grant Gustin does a great job portraying Barry Allen. It makes me believe the character is a lot like his comic book counterpart. He's friendly, reliable, he's got a good heart. He does what he does because it's the right thing to do. Grant Gustin and Candice Patton, who plays Iris West, have really great chemistry on screen. Just the way they interact, you can tell they're close, they care for each other. You can see Barry's feelings for Iris. We can tell that The Flash is a lot lighter tone than Arrow is. Arrow is often set during the night. We have vigilante aspects, there's crime and all that. We have daylight, more of a lighter mood. There's a lot more comedy in The Flash. Yes, there is crime. Barry is a forensic scientist, so we're gonna run into a lot of that, but for some reason it feels a lot different. In the show they do a lot of cool visual effects with super speed. They play around with a lot of things. I did notice a lot of things that we saw in like Smallville when Superman was running around. It was like, the super speed trick where you see him from the front running along and everything behind him's a blur. We also see the downward view of the city, and there's we see a red streak zipping through around the town. That's another Smallville thing. But there are a couple cool aspects that they introduced in the show that I never saw in Smallville or in the old live-action Flash show. Was there was at least one scene where Barry's running around a tornado trying to put out the tornado, and the effect looks really cool because you can see the outline of his earpiece streaking along, the yellow and the red. Just looks cool as he's zipping around. Geoff Johns, who is a very prominent writer in comic books for DC, is a producer and a writer for the Flash series, which kind of makes me get excited about it because he did write several episodes of Smallville and a couple episodes of Arrow so far. And every episode he's written has been fantastic. However, he was the creative consultant on the Green Lantern movie, which was terrible. Let's hope it's not as bad as Green Lantern. I have faith in Geoff Johns' writing ability because I love the comics he writes and I love the episodes he's written. But I really hope it doesn't end up becoming like the Green Lantern movie, this show. The first episode was written by Geoff Johns as well as a couple others. And a Twitter photo by, what's his name? Andrew Graysberg, I don't know how to say the name. I'm sorry for pronouncing your name wrong if I did. But a Twitter photo by Andrew Craig, by that guy, shows the front page of the script from the second episode, which also states that Geoff Johns did the teleplay for that episode. So I'm wondering if maybe Geoff Johns is going to have a more permanent place on the writing team of this show. Instead of just doing one episode per season, maybe he's going to be every few episodes, 4 or 5 or whatever. I just hope he gets a lot more writing time in. He's a fantastic writer. Barry is an assistant in the forensic scientist lab. He's not an actual forensic scientist like in the comics, so a bit different. Iris West's father, Joe West, is a cop. We'll get to see some interesting, almost father-son dynamics between Barry and Joe, I hope. At the beginning, they're trying to track down the location of the Martin brothers. Obvious reference to Mark Martin, who is the Weather Wizard in the comics. For some reason, his brother Clyde becomes the Weather Wizard in this. I don't know why they chose that. They could have just changed his name to Mark, and it would have been perfectly fine. Maybe he's just in this one episode, and Mark will come in and take his place as the actual Weather Wizard. I don't know. I'm hoping. Grant Gustin appears as Barry in 2 episodes of Arrow, and the particle accelerators explain there it's sort of a new way to discover things in science or something. I don't know things about science. And the guy who made the particle accelerator is a character named Harrison Wells, who is a new character from the show, nowhere in the comics. So I'm confused, who is he? There are a lot of characters we could have chose from to be that specific person. Why did they create a new character? There's a scene where Harrison Wells tells Barry he's not a hero, he should just give up. And so Barry just super speeds over to Starling City and starts talking to Oliver. First crossover among many, I hope. I really hope we get to see a lot of crossovers between the two shows. Or any future shows they might have. Green Lantern, Brave and the Bold. There's a transfer cop from Keystone City, Eddie Thawne. Obvious reference to Eobard Thawne, the Reverse Flash, Professor Zoom from the comics. I'm not sure if he is actually the Reverse Flash in the show. It's like, here he is, the fans are going, oh, there he is, but it seems a bit obvious. Maybe he's an ancestor of the Reverse Flash, because Eobard Thawne is from the 25th century, from the future, comes back in time because he hates Barry. It gets complicated, I'm not getting into that. If you want to know, read the comics. So is he the Reverse Flash? Or is he just an ancestor that's going to be setting up for bringing in the Reverse Flash later on in the show? Now, though Eddie Thawne appears to be the obvious choice to play the Reverse Flash, Harrison Wells seems really suspicious. He's putting a lot of pressure on Barry that he's not a hero, that he has this gift that he wants to study. He thinks Barry has the potential to unlock a lot of advancements in science, and he kind of wants it for himself to study. Not if he wants it for himself to be a speedster, but he wants it for himself. Makes me think he's kind of suspicious. Maybe he's the Reverse Flash, and Eddie Thawne is just kind of like a red herring. However, Eddie and Iris start dating, which does seem like the kind of thing that the Reverse Flash would do to get to Barry. At the same time, it looks like Eddie could be the Reverse Flash. Barry's running late to get to the crime scene. A good nod to the comics. He's always late, yet he's the fastest man alive. They throw some jokes around, why he's late, everything. We can tell it's a lot more lighthearted than Arrow right off the bat. When Barry's investigating the crime scene, we get some like weird Sherlock stuff going on. You know, he bends down to look like tire tracks on the ground, and like text pops up, and he measures things, and it looks like how in Sherlock, when Sherlock's measuring stuff, we see words popping up around him, and he's, you know, if you watch Sherlock, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't watched Sherlock, go watch it, because it's one of the greatest shows ever. Actually, the fact that we get to see him in his element in his crime lab, doing stuff like that, I look forward to seeing it, not just a show about a guy that runs fast, but a show about a cop too. It'd be a nice mix between sci-fi superhero and crime drama. Later at the end of the episode, when they're tracking down Martin again, Joe West and Eddie Thawne, they come up behind him, and they're, you know, put your hands up kind of thing with the gun, and he turns around and makes this big speech about him being God and controlling the weather and all that. And he's just blabbering on, and Joe West goes, "Shut the hell up." And I thought that was the best line in the whole episode. The story opens up, Barry's telling his backstory, and we see that when he was a kid, his mom was murdered and his dad was framed. And there is a yellow ball of blur that he saw that night, which is a reference to the Flash Rebirth version of Barry's origin. His mother was killed by the Reverse Flash, Professor Zoom. A little thing I was a little confused about was Barry's mom being attacked by this yellow blur, and his dad comes in, they're like, "Barry, get out of here, go." But they aren't really freaked out by the fact that there's this giant ball of yellow energy attacking her. I think there's going to be a lot more revealed to this. Like, did he run in and start talking to him beforehand? Or is like, you know, something from their past is returning to haunt the two of them and their son? Or is it just the straight up, you know, comic book version, hey, I hate Barry, I'm coming back in time to ruin your life. But that doesn't explain why his parents aren't like super freaked out by this strange phenomenon, because up until this point in the continuity of the show, as far as I can tell, there's no such thing as super powers. No, it's pretty grounded real life stuff like in Arrow. We have a nice nod to the old 90s Flash TV series starring John Wesley Shipp. He plays Henry Allen, Barry's father in this. Nice little nod to the comics. When Barry is talking about the proton accelerator that Star Labs is building, Iris calls it the Atom Smasher. Atom Smasher is a superhero in DC Comics. So in Star Labs there are a couple characters, Cisco Ramon and Caitlin Snow. Cisco Ramon is based off the character from the comics Vibe, and Caitlin Snow is based off of the character Killer Frost. I think it's cool that they're adding a lot of other characters in. We've got Weather Wizard, Vibe, and Killer Frost, as well as Reverse Flash so far, reference to the Atom Smasher. What I do find weird though is that we have Killer Frost in this episode. Why do we have an ice-based villain here, assuming she becomes Killer Frost in the show? Why is she here when the Flash has his own ice-based villain, Captain Cold? There's a scene where Barry's testing out his super speed abilities at a Ferris Air location, which is a reference to Green Lantern. So I think that there's another reference to the comics. I think that's another good nod. This episode is full of references to the comics. It really is. Not just the Flash, but to other comics, other DC properties as well. A nice little nod again to the comics. So the particle accelerator explodes, gives Barry his powers, also gives a lot of powers to other superheroes, as we see with Martin, Weather Wizard. But when Barry's taking a tour of Star Labs, we walk by a cage that has been ripped open, and there's a sign hanging there that says Grodd. Obvious reference to Gorilla Grodd from the comics. I am interested to see how they will use that character in the show, because I really don't think they're going to have a person fighting an actual gorilla. Will be a guy in a gorilla suit? Will he just be a human who's just really big and bulky? How are they going to play around with Grodd? If they do that, it appears that Grodd got his powers from the particle accelerator, just like everyone else. So does that mean there's not going to be a Gorilla City? Now, there was rumor of doing a Flash/Green Lantern movie, and then another rumor saying that it was going to be a TV movie set in the same cinematic universe as Arrow and the Flash. I think that would be cool. A TV movie, Brave and the Bold, Flash and Green Lantern. Because I really think it would be great to see Green Lantern and Flash team up, and that might lead into a live-action Green Lantern TV show. But that would have a big budget for all the special effects of the Green Lantern. Oh well. I can hope for stuff even if it's impossible, right? Here is the really big spoiler. And if you have seen anything online, read about this, you will probably have seen the discussions that have taken place about it. So if you don't want to know this, just skip ahead. But the scene at the end, Harrison Wells, who, by the way, after the particle accelerator, was stuck in a wheelchair. He lost, I guess he's paralyzed from the waist down. They don't really explain it, but he was injured and now he's in a wheelchair. Anyway, so he goes up to, he's just like in a hallway in Star Labs, he just kind of leans on the wall, and then the wall just kind of opens up, crazy, sciencey, and he wheelchairs in, and the wall just magically closes. And then he gets up out of the wheelchair, chucks his glasses on it, and starts walking away, and I'm just like, what? And then he goes up to this weird podium thing, puts his hand on it, and like a virtual newspaper pops up that says, Flash missing, vanishes in crisis. And then we get a zoom in on the date and it says April whatever 2024. So Harrison Wells is either from the future or someone from the future showed in this article about the Flash missing in action. And the reference to the crisis is obviously a reference to Crisis on Infinite Earths. Check it out. This is big news because are they going to do a Crisis on Infinite Earths in this universe? I really don't see them having the budget for it, for anything that big, getting actors, for Batman, Superman, Green Lantern, everybody fighting the Anti-Monitor, this giant monster. However, it makes me think, maybe, just maybe, they're going to connect Arrow and the Flash into the new Batman, Superman, Dawn of Justice movie. Maybe the shows and the movies will be linked, and we'll get to see a Crisis on Infinite Earths movie. That would be epic. The fact that Harrison Wells at least knows something from the future further cements my idea that he might actually be the Reverse Flash and not Eddie Thawne. Perhaps Harrison Wells is a fake name he's using. He's actually Eobard Thawne, and Eddie Thawne is actually his ancestor. Or maybe he's someone else in the future. I did read a couple things online. People think he might be like an adult Bart Allen, come back to help instead of his grandfather's becoming the Flash. Another thing I think would be cool is he was actually Max Mercury, the Zen Master of Speed. There's a lot of mystery behind Harrison Wells, and I really want to see how that story arc plays out. Is Harrison Wells from the future? Or did Eobard Thawne talk to him too? There's a scene earlier in the episode where Nora is being attacked by the yellow ball of lightning and Henry's holding Barry back as a kid, and she yells, "Don't let him touch him." And I'm thinking, hold on. Does this mean that the Reverse Flash talked to the parents beforehand? He knows about, maybe they're setting something up for more of a darker past from his parents. Maybe they encountered this guy before. But point being, she said, "Don't let him touch him." She knows that that thing attacking them is a guy. So at the very least, maybe this is the first time he showed up, at the very least, he has talked to the parents. So Harrison Wells might be from the future, or maybe old Eobard Thawne talked to him too, showed him the newspaper thing. Either way, it looks very promising for a amazing story arc. So, overall, it looks like they put in a good chunk of money for production, just the same as they did with Arrow. Looks like they're going to do a lot of references to the comics, and I look forward to seeing a lot of stuff. Particle Accelerator gave Barry and the Weather Wizard his powers. Maybe we're going to see a lot of other rogues showing up from that, and I really hope we get to see a rogues gallery team up against the Flash. Promising plot. We got Jeff Johns on board. That should be a good sign. I really look forward to watching this show when it premieres in the fall. You guys should too. I'm really weak at ending my videos, so later days.
Take your own advice. Wear a mask.
Cool.